The phone call came at 3 in the morning. Takeshi was barely awake when he heard the nurse's voice telling him to come quickly. His older brother Kenji didn't have much time left. He threw on whatever clothes he could find and rushed to the hospital, his heart pounding the entire way. When he reached the hospital room, Takeshi almost didn't recognize the man lying in the bed. Kenji had always been strong, full of life. Now he looked so thin and pale. They hadn't spoken properly in almost 10 years. Life had pulled them in different directions. Kenji had gone abroad for work, and Takeshi had stayed in Japan living a quiet life. Their last conversation had been awkward and brief. Kenji's eyes opened slowly when Takeshi sat down beside the bed. For a moment, neither of them spoke. What do you say to someone you've lost touch with, even if they're your own blood? Takeshi opened his mouth to apologize for all the lost years, but Kenji raised his hand weakly. Listen to me, Kenji whispered, his voice rough and barely audible. I don't have much time. I need you to promise me something. Takeshi leaned closer. Anything? What is it? Take care of her, Kenji said, gripping Takeshi's hand with surprising strength for someone so weak. His eyes were intense, almost desperate. Promise me you'll take care of her. She has no one else. Please, Takeshi. This is the only thing I'll ever ask of you. Takeshi's mind raced. Her? Who was he talking about? Did Kenji have a daughter he never mentioned? Maybe a girlfriend? His brother had been so secretive about his life overseas. But looking at Kenji's face, at the fear and hope mixed together in his eyes, Takeshi couldn't refuse. I promise, he said firmly. I'll take care of her. I swear it. Kenji's body relaxed. A small smile appeared on his face, the first real expression Takeshi had seen since entering the room. Thank you, little brother. You were always the good one. His eyes closed, and within minutes the monitors began to beep in that terrible way that means someone is leaving this world. Takeshi sat there long after the nurses came and went. He sat through the paperwork, the phone calls, the arrangements. His mind kept returning to that promise. Who was this person his brother cared about so much? Why hadn't Kenji told their family about her? 3 days later, Takeshi was back at his small apartment. The funeral was over. He had taken a week off work to handle everything. It was evening, and he was sitting on his couch staring at the television without really watching it. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. He was thinking about ordering some food when someone knocked on his door. The knock was loud and firm. Takeshi got up and opened the door, expecting maybe a neighbor or a delivery person. Instead, he found himself staring at someone's chest. He looked up and then up some more. Standing in his doorway was the tallest woman he had ever seen in his life. She had to be at least 2 meters tall, maybe more. She had blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, bright blue eyes, and shoulders that seemed almost too wide for his doorway. She was carrying 2 huge suitcases, one in each hand, like they weighed nothing. You are Takeshi? She asked in heavily accented Japanese. Her voice was deep and strong. Yes, I'm Takeshi. Can I help you? The woman set down her suitcases with 2 heavy thuds. She looked at him with an expression that was both sad and determined. I am Svetlana, Kenji's wife. He told me if anything happened to him, I come here. So I am here now. She picked up her suitcases again and simply walked past him into the apartment, ducking slightly to get through the doorway. Takeshi stood frozen for a moment. Wife, Kenji had been married? And to this giant of a woman? He turned around to find Svetlana already surveying his tiny apartment with a critical eye. She was so tall that her head nearly touched the ceiling. Wait, Takeshi said, closing the door and following her inside. What do you mean you're Kenji's wife? He never mentioned getting married. Svetlana set her suitcases down in the middle of his small living room. They took up most of the available floor space. We not married in paper, she explained, her Japanese rough but understandable. But we lived together 5 years. In my country, this means married. Kenji say if something bad happened, his family take care of me. You are his family. His only family. She looked around the apartment again. Small place. But is okay. I can manage. Takeshi felt like his brain couldn't keep up. This woman, this stranger, was planning to stay here, in his tiny 1-bedroom apartment? Hold on, I don't understand. Why didn't Kenji tell us about you? Why didn't you come to the funeral? Svetlana's face showed pain for the first time. She sat down heavily on his couch, which creaked dangerously under her weight. I arrived Japan only yesterday. Plane delayed. I try to come to funeral but miss it. Kenji never tell you about me because your mother, she not approve foreign wife. Kenji say she very traditional. He wanna wait, to prepare family slowly, but then he gets sick so fast. She looked down at her large hands. He called me 2 weeks ago. Say to come to Japan. Say you will help me. He make you promise, yes? Takeshi's stomach sank as he remembered Kenji's desperate face in the hospital. Take care of her. This is what his brother meant. Not a daughter. Not a girlfriend. This enormous foreign woman who was now sitting on his couch, clearly planning to move in. I did promise, Takeshi admitted quietly, but I thought he meant something different. I didn't know about you. Now you know, Svetlana said simply. She stood up, nearly hitting her head on the ceiling light. I need sleep now. Long travel. Where is bedroom? There's only one bedroom, Takeshi said weakly. This is a small apartment. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and this living room with a kitchen corner. That's it. Svetlana looked at him, then at the apartment, then back at him. Then you take bedroom. I sleep here on couch. Tomorrow we figure out everything else. But tonight I too tired. Without waiting for his response, she opened one of her suitcases, pulled out a blanket that looked handmade, and began arranging herself on his couch. Her legs hung over the armrest and her feet nearly touched the wall. Takeshi stood there watching this surreal scene unfold. Just 3 days ago, he had been living his normal, quiet life. Working his regular job, coming home to his small apartment, eating simple meals, watching television until he fell asleep. Now there was a 2-meter-tall foreign woman sleeping on his couch, claiming to be his dead brother's wife and apparently planning to stay indefinitely. He went to his bedroom in a daze, but he couldn't sleep. He could hear Svetlana's deep, even breathing from the living room. What had Kenji gotten him into? And more importantly, what was he supposed to do now? He had made a promise to his dying brother. But how was this supposed to work? His apartment was barely big enough for 1 person, let alone 2, and especially not when one of those people was practically a giant. As he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Takeshi realized his quiet life was completely over. Everything was about to change, whether he was ready for it or not. The first morning was a disaster. Takeshi woke up to the sound of something crashing in his kitchen. He jumped out of bed and ran to the living room to find Svetlana standing among the remains of his dish rack, which had apparently fallen from the counter. She was trying to make coffee, but everything in his kitchen was too small for her. The mugs looked like toys in her huge hands. The counter was too low, making her bend over awkwardly. Even the coffee maker seemed miniature next to her. Sorry, she said, not looking sorry at all. Your kitchen is very tiny. Like toy kitchen. Takeshi rubbed his face, trying to wake up properly. His back hurt from sleeping tensely all night, worrying about the situation. It's a normal-sized kitchen. You're just really tall. I know I am tall, Svetlana said matter-of-factly, finally getting the coffee maker to work. Is normal for me. World is too small, not me too big. She poured coffee into 2 mugs, filling them almost to overflowing. Drink. Coffee make everything better. As they sat at his small dining table, Svetlana's knees didn't fit underneath. She had to sit sideways, her long legs extending into the living room space. Takeshi watched her add an enormous amount of sugar to her coffee and realized he needed to talk to her about the living situation. Svetlana, we need to discuss this arrangement. This apartment is really too small. Maybe we can find you another place to stay. I can help you look for an apartment, help with the deposit, whatever you need. Svetlana's expression hardened. I have no money for apartment. Kenji was sending money to my family back home. They need it. I spent everything I have on plane ticket to come here. She took a long sip of coffee. Also, my visa is temporary. Hard to rent apartment without proper visa. Without Japanese guarantor. You know this, yes? Takeshi hadn't thought about that. He didn't know much about visa situations for foreigners. What kind of visa do you have? Tourist visa. 3 months. Kenji was helping me get spouse visa, but he'd die before paperwork finish. She looked at him directly. Without visa, I cannot work. Cannot rent place. Cannot do anything. Kenji promised me his family help. You promise him too. I hear you. In hospital, he tell me on phone before he die. He say I make Takeshi promise. This is why I come. The weight of his brother's promise felt heavier than ever. Takeshi drank his coffee, which was too strong and too sweet. Okay, let's say you stay here for a little while. Just temporarily until we figure something out. But we need to set some rules. Rules? Okay, what rules? Well, first you can't just rearrange my things without asking. This is my apartment. Svetlana looked around. Your apartment is mess. Everything everywhere. Not organized. I already cleaned last night after you sleep. Check living room. Takeshi looked into the living room and was surprised to see it was indeed much neater than before. His magazines were stacked properly. His shoes were lined up by the door, and she had somehow made the couch look presentable despite using it as a bed. Second, he continued, trying to maintain some authority, you need to be quiet in the mornings. I work early and I need my sleep. I am quiet. You hear me this morning before dish rack fall? No, I am very quiet. Silent like mouse. Big mouse, but silent. This was going to be harder than he thought. And third, we need to split the food costs. I can't afford to feed 2 people on my salary. I cook, Svetlana announced. You buy food, I cook. Good food. Real food. Not this instant noodle garbage you eat. I see your pantry, very sad. Man cannot live on only instant noodles and rice. Before Takeshi could argue, there was a knock on the door. He opened it to find his neighbor from across the hall, an elderly woman named Mrs. Tanaka who had lived in the building for 30 years. Good morning, Takeshi. I heard some noise and I wanted to make sure everything was... Mrs. Tanaka's voice trailed off as she caught sight of Svetlana, who had stood up and was now visible from the doorway. The old woman's eyes went wide. Oh my goodness. Who is this? This is Svetlana. She's my brother's, friend. She's staying here temporarily. Mrs. Tanaka's expression changed from surprise to scandal. I see. Well, I suppose that's your business. She gave Takeshi a look that clearly said she did not approve, then shuffled back to her apartment. Svetlana appeared beside Takeshi, having to duck slightly under the doorframe. Why she look at us like that? Like we doing something wrong? Because, Takeshi said, closing the door. In Japan, it's unusual for an unmarried man and woman to live together, especially when they're not family. People will talk. They'll assume things. What things? That we're together. Romantically. Svetlana laughed, a loud booming sound that probably reached every apartment on their floor. That is funny. You are like baby brother to me. No offense, but you are very small. I could break you like twig. Thanks for that image, Takeshi muttered. The next few days were an adjustment that tested Takeshi's patience. Svetlana's presence created problems he had never imagined. The bathroom was too small for her to shower comfortably, so she kept hitting her elbows on the walls. The toilet was too low, making her complain constantly. She couldn't fit in his bathtub at all, so she had to settle for awkward showers only. She also ate enormous amounts of food. What Takeshi considered a meal for 2, Svetlana ate alone. His grocery bill tripled in the first week. When he complained, she reminded him that she was cooking, which was true. And he had to admit, the food was much better than his usual instant meals. She made thick stews, fresh bread, and hearty dishes from her country that filled the apartment with rich smells. The neighbors were the worst part. Everyone in the building seemed to know about the tall foreign woman living with him. They stared when she walked down the hallway. They whispered when she checked the mail. Mrs. Tanaka told everyone she knew, and soon Takeshi could feel the judgment everywhere. At work, it wasn't much better. His coworkers noticed he looked tired and asked questions. When they found out about Svetlana, the jokes started immediately. So Takeshi finally got himself a girlfriend, his colleague Hiro said with a grin. And a big one, too. I hear she's like an Amazon warrior. She's not my girlfriend, Takeshi said firmly. She's my brother's widow. I'm helping her out. Sure, another coworker chimed in. That's what they all say. Living together, but just friends. We believe you. The sarcasm was thick. Takeshi felt his face burning. How could he explain the complicated situation? How could he make them understand this wasn't what they thought? Things got worse when his mother called. Somehow she had heard about Svetlana through the family grapevine. The conversation was painful. A foreign woman living in your apartment? What are you thinking, Takeshi? What will people say? This is shameful. Mother, I promised Kenji I would help her. She has nowhere else to go. Then find her somewhere else. Give her money for a hotel. Help her get a ticket back to her country. You can't have an unmarried woman living with you. It's improper. And she's a foreigner. You should marry a nice Japanese girl, settle down properly. After the phone call, Takeshi sat on the floor of his bedroom, feeling overwhelmed. Why did everything have to be so complicated? He had just wanted to keep his promise to his brother. He hadn't asked for any of this. There was a soft knock on his bedroom door. Takeshi? You okay? Svetlana's voice was surprisingly gentle. I'm fine. You not fine. I hear you talk to your mother. She not happy about me, yes? Takeshi opened the door. Svetlana was sitting on the floor outside his room, her back against the wall. Even sitting, she was almost at his eye level. She doesn't understand, he said. Nobody understands. I know this is hard for you, Svetlana said quietly. I hear neighbors talking. I see how people look at you now. Maybe I should go. Maybe I should return home even though home is bad place for me. What do you mean, bad place? Svetlana was quiet for a moment. My family, they not good people. My father drank too much. Hit my mother. Hit me when I was young. I was only happy when I play volleyball. I was professional player, very good. But then I get bad injury. Career over. I meet Kenji after that when I was very sad, very lost. He saved me. Give me life again. She looked at Takeshi. If I go back to nothing. To people who hurt me. But I not want to ruin your life. Takeshi felt something shift inside him. Here was this strong woman, who looked like she could face down anything, and she was vulnerable. She was scared. Just like he was. You're not ruining my life, he said. It's just an adjustment. We'll figure it out. I made a promise to Kenji and I'm going to keep it. Svetlana smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. You are a good man. Like your brother. Thank you. As Takeshi lay in bed that night listening to Svetlana moving around the apartment, he realized something. Despite all the problems, despite all the judgment and complications, he didn't hate having her there. The apartment felt less empty, less lonely. Maybe this arrangement, as uncomfortable as it was, wasn't entirely bad. 2 weeks had passed since Svetlana moved in. Takeshi came home from work one evening to find her sitting on the floor, surrounded by photographs. She had a shoebox open in front of her, and her eyes were red from crying. He had never seen her cry before. She always seemed so strong, so unshakable. Are you okay? He asked, setting down his work bag. Svetlana quickly wiped her eyes. Yes, yeah. I just looking at old photos. Make me remember things. She gestured to the space beside her. Sit. I show you who your brother really was. Takeshi sat down and Svetlana began handing him photographs one by one. The first showed Kenji standing next to Svetlana in front of a small house covered in snow. His brother looked happy, truly happy in a way Takeshi hadn't seen in years. This is in my country, Svetlana explained. Small town near mountains. Kenji come there for engineering project. Big factory need foreign expert. He stay in hotel at first, very lonely. One day he come to sports center where I work as coach. He want to exercise. We meet there. She handed him another photo. This one showed Kenji and Svetlana at what looked like a festival, both bundled up in heavy coats, holding strange foods on sticks. He was so funny at first, Svetlana continued, a small smile appearing. His English not good, my Japanese not exist. We use phone translator for everything. But somehow we understand each other. He make me laugh. After my volleyball career end, I not laugh for long time. But Kenji, he bring joy back. The next photo showed Svetlana in a volleyball uniform, mid-jump, hitting a ball. She looked powerful and graceful, completely in her element. You were really good, Takeshi said, impressed. I was best in region, Svetlana said with a trace of pride. I going to make national team. But then in big game I land wrong.
Knee injury, very bad.
Surgery not help enough. Doctors say I never play professional again. I was 23 years old. My whole life was volleyball. Suddenly I have nothing. She handed him another photo, this one showing her in a hospital bed, looking thin and sad. Kenji was sitting beside her, holding her hand. This is when Kenji saved my life first time, she said quietly. After injury I was very depressed. Not eating, not sleeping, just crying all the time. My family, they not supportive. They say I waste my life, I disappoint them. One day I decide to end everything. I take all my medicine at once. Takeshi's chest tightened. You tried to... Yes, but Kenji, he have feeling something wrong. He not here for me for 2 days. He leave work, come to my apartment. He break down door. Find me unconscious. He call ambulance, save my life. He stay with me every day in hospital. When I get better, he tell me, your life not over. Your life just changing. I help you find new path. She shuffled through more photos, finding one of her and Kenji cooking together in a small kitchen. After that, we become closer. He helped me find job coaching young volleyball players. He encouraged me, support me. We move in together after 6 months. Live together for 5 years. We plan to get married properly when his work contract finish and we come to Japan together. But then he gets sick. Takeshi looked at the photos spread around them. This was a whole part of his brother's life he knew nothing about. Why didn't he tell our family about you? Why keep it secret? Svetlana's expression became sad again. He try it first. He call your mother, mention he meets someone. She ask if I am Japanese. He say no. She say he should find proper Japanese woman. Say foreign wife brings shame to family. After that, Kenji decide to wait. He think maybe if we come to Japan together, if she meet me in person, she accept me better. But time run out. She pulled out a small notebook from the shoebox. Kenji write me letter before he die. Hospital staff give it to me. You want to read? I translate for you. Takeshi nodded and Svetlana began reading, translating from her language to Japanese as she went. My Svetlana, if you reading this, I am gone. I am sorry I cannot keep my promise to grow old with you. I am sorry for many things, but I'm not sorry for one thing, loving you. You make my life complete. You save me from loneliness. Now I must ask you to trust me one more time. Go to my brother Takeshi. He is good man. Better than me in many ways. He will help you. I make him promise. Please forgive him if he is confused at first. He not know about you, about us, but he will understand. He has kind heart. Take care of yourself, my love. Live the life we plan together. Be happy. This is my last wish for you. Svetlana's voice broke at the end. Tears ran down her face. He was best man I ever know. I miss him so much. Takeshi felt his own eyes getting wet. He had never really understood his brother's life. They had been so distant. But now, seeing these photos, hearing these stories, he realized Kenji had found something real, something worth protecting. There is one more thing I must tell you, Svetlana said, pulling out another photograph. This one showed a burned building, firefighters standing around it. This is why Kenji feel he owe me. But really, I owe him more. What happened? 2 years ago in winter, there was big fire in an apartment building next to ours. Very cold night. Fire spread fast. Everyone running out. Kenji and I, we safe in our building. But then Kenji see that family still trapped on 3rd floor. Parents and 2 children. Everyone else just watching, waiting for firefighters. But Kenji, he not wait. He run into building. Takeshi's eyes widened. That's insane. He could have died, I know. I scream at him to stop. But he not listen.
He go inside.
Long time passed, too long. Fire getting worse. Then I hear children crying from window. I see Kenji trying to help them, but he's stuck. Smoke too much. He's starting to fall down. So I run inside too. You went in after him? Of course. What else I do? Let him die? Never. Svetlana touched her left arm absently. I not feel pain when emergency happen. Body just move. I carry one child. Kenji carry other. Parents already escaped through other way. When we come out, I realize my arm burned bad. Very bad. I have scars still. She rolled up her sleeve to show Takeshi a large, twisted scar running from her wrist almost to her elbow. After that day, she continued, Kenji always say I save his life. But really, he saved those children. I just help. He always grateful, though. Always say he lucky to have me. But I think I am lucky one, to have man like him who cares so much about others. They sat in silence for a while looking at the photos. Takeshi began to understand why Kenji made him promise. This wasn't just about helping a friend or even a wife. This was about protecting someone who had sacrificed for his brother. Someone who had been there when Kenji needed her most. I understand now, Takeshi said finally, why he asked me to take care of you. You took care of him. You saved him. He wanted someone to do the same for you. Svetlana looked at him with gratitude. You are like him. Same kindness inside. I see it. I'm not sure about that.
I've been pretty selfish, actually.
Complaining about you being here, worried about what people think. That is normal. You not expect me. Big surprise. Big disruption. But you still let me stay. You still keep promise. That is what matters. That night, Takeshi couldn't sleep again. But this time it wasn't from worry or stress. It was from thinking about everything he had learned. His brother had lived a whole life he never knew about. Had loved someone deeply. Had been a hero, literally running into burning buildings to save people. What had Takeshi done with his life? Worked a boring job. Come home to an empty apartment. Had no real relationships. Made no real impact. He had been sleepwalking through his days, not really living at all. Maybe Svetlana arriving wasn't a disruption to his life. Maybe it was a wake-up call. Maybe this was his chance to actually do something meaningful, to honor his brother's memory by being the kind of person Kenji believed he could be. In the living room, he could hear Svetlana's quiet breathing as she slept on the couch. She had been through so much. Lost her career, lost the man she loved, left her country to come to a place where she didn't speak the language well, where people stared at her, where she had to rely on a stranger's kindness. And yet, she kept going. She kept trying. She was strong in a way Takeshi wasn't sure he could ever be. He made a decision then. He would stop seeing her as a burden. He would stop worrying so much about what others thought. Kenji had trusted him with something important. Someone important. It was time to start acting like he deserved that trust. Tomorrow, he would start looking into her visa situation properly. He would help her find work, maybe as a volleyball coach or trainer. He would introduce her to people, help her make connections. He would do what his brother asked because it was the right thing to do, not out of obligation, but because Svetlana deserved someone in her corner, and Takeshi was determined to be that someone. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon. Takeshi had agreed to meet Svetlana at the shopping district to help her pick up some things she needed. He had taken half the day off work, which his boss wasn't happy about. But Svetlana was nervous about shopping alone with her limited Japanese. They had just left a store when Takeshi ran into the last person he wanted to see, his ex-girlfriend Yuki. They had dated for 2 years before breaking up 6 months ago. She had wanted marriage, stability, a clear future. Takeshi hadn't been ready. Now she stood there, perfectly dressed as always, her eyes going from Takeshi to Svetlana and back again with an expression he knew too well, judgment mixed with satisfaction. "Takeshi," she said with false sweetness. "What a surprise. And who is this?" "This is Svetlana. She's staying with me for a while. She was my brother's partner." "Partner?" Yuki's eyebrow raised. "How modern. And now she lives with you? That was fast. I guess you got over being not ready for commitment pretty quickly." "It's not like that," Takeshi said, feeling his face heat up. "She needed help, so I'm helping her. Of course. How noble." Yuki looked Svetlana up and down, not even trying to hide her examination. "Well, you certainly have a type now, very different from me." Svetlana had been quiet until now, but Takeshi saw her jaw tighten. "I am Kenji's widow. Takeshi is helping me because he is a good person, not because of romance." "You have problem with this?" "No problem at all," Yuki said smoothly. "I'm just surprised. Takeshi was always so concerned about what people thought. And now he's living with a foreign woman who towers over him. People must be talking quite a bit. Then maybe people should mind their own business," Svetlana shot back. "Maybe they should," Yuki agreed. "But they won't. That's not how the world works. Anyway, I have to go. It was interesting seeing you both." She walked away, leaving behind an uncomfortable silence. "She is a very unpleasant person," Svetlana said finally. "You date her, really?" "She wasn't always like that," Takeshi said, though he wasn't sure that was true. "Come on, let's finish shopping." But the encounter had put a damper on the whole day. Takeshi was quiet, withdrawn. Svetlana noticed but didn't push him to talk. When they got back to the apartment, she went to cook dinner while he sat on the couch, thinking about Yuki's words. People must be talking quite a bit. She was right, of course. At work, the gossip had gotten worse. His co-workers made constant jokes about his foreign roommate. Even his boss had pulled him aside last week to ask if everything was appropriate at home. The implication was clear. They all thought he and Svetlana were together, and they all thought it was strange. The worst was when some of his colleagues saw a photo someone had taken of him and Svetlana walking down the street. The angle made the height difference look even more dramatic. The jokes had been merciless. "Hey, Takeshi, how's the weather down there? Does she have to bend down to kiss you? I bet she could just pick you up and carry you around." He had laughed it off, tried to seem like it didn't bother him. But it did. Every comment, every joke, every strange look chipped away at his patience. The next day at work was even worse. His boss called him into the office. "Takeshi, I need to talk to you about something," his boss said, looking uncomfortable. "Some clients have mentioned seeing you around town with a very tall foreign woman. There are photos on social media. People are talking, so?" "She's my brother's widow. I'm helping her out. I understand that, but you need to understand that our company has a reputation to maintain. We work with traditional clients. They might not understand this arrangement. Takeshi felt anger rising in his chest. What are you saying exactly? I'm saying maybe you should be more careful about being seen together in public. Or perhaps help her find somewhere else to live, for the good of your career here. Are you threatening my job over who I live with? His boss raised his hands defensively. No, nothing like that. Just friendly advice. Think about your future here. Takeshi left the office feeling like the walls were closing in. Was he supposed to hide Svetlana away? Pretend she didn't exist for what? To make other people more comfortable? That evening, things got even worse. Svetlana had gone to the local park for her daily walk. She liked to exercise there, doing stretches and light workouts to stay in shape. Takeshi got a call from her voice tight with emotion. Takeshi, can you come to park? Now? He rushed over to find Svetlana standing near the exercise area, facing a group of teenage boys. They were laughing and holding up their phones, obviously recording her. Do the thing again, one of them shouted in Japanese. Jump! Show us how high you can jump. I tell you to stop, Svetlana said firmly. Delete videos now. Why? You're in public. We can record whatever we want. You're like a circus act. That's when Takeshi arrived. What's going on here? The teenagers turned to him, still laughing. Oh, is this your girlfriend? Dude, she's like twice your size. How does that even work? Delete the videos, Takeshi said, his voice harder than he expected. Right now. Or what? What are you going to do? Takeshi stepped forward, and something in his face must have changed because the boys' laughter faded. I said delete them. She's a person, not entertainment for you. Show some respect, one of the boys sneered. Whatever, man. We got enough anyway. This is going to get so many likes. They ran off, laughing and shouting. Svetlana stood very still, her hands clenched into fists. They do this 3 times now. Different people, but same thing. Always recording. Always laughing. Like I am zoo animal. I'm sorry, Takeshi said. People can be cruel. It's not just teenagers. Yesterday, old woman in grocery store touched my arm without asking. Want to see if I am real. Man on train take photo of me when he think I not looking. Everyone stare. Always stare. I know. People stare at me too now. They see us together and they make assumptions. Svetlana looked at him. Really looked at him. This is ruining your life. Everyone treating you different now. Your boss, your coworkers, your ex-girlfriend, even your family. All because of me. It's not your fault. It's their problem, not ours. But it becoming our problem, Svetlana said quietly. Maybe I should just go back. Maybe this is too hard. No, Takeshi said firmly. You're not going anywhere. I don't care what people think anymore. Let them talk. Let them stare. Let them take their stupid photos and post them online. You're here because Kenji wanted you safe, and I'm going to make sure you are. Svetlana's eyes widened. You mean this? Yes, I'm tired of apologizing for doing the right thing. Kenji didn't care what people thought, and neither should I. He ran into a burning building to save people. I can handle some gossip and rude comments. For the first time since the incident started, Svetlana smiled. You are braver than you think. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just finally growing a backbone. They walked home together through the busy streets. People did stare. Some pointed. Takeshi saw someone take a photo with their phone, and for the first time he didn't care. He walked with his head up right beside Svetlana. When they got back to the apartment building, Mrs. Tanaka was in the hallway checking her mail. She saw them and pursed her lips in disapproval. Good evening, Mrs. Tanaka, Takeshi said loudly. Beautiful evening, isn't it? The old woman just huffed and went back into her apartment. Svetlana laughed that booming laugh of hers. You are different today. More strong? Yeah, well, I decided something. The world can judge all it wants. But they don't know our story. They don't know about Kenji, about what you've been through, about why you're here. All they see is surface. And if they want to be shallow, that's their choice. I'm done letting it bother me. Inside the apartment, Svetlana cooked one of her hearty stews while Takeshi sat at the table, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. The next morning when he went to work, the jokes started again almost immediately. Hey Takeshi, saw you on social media. You and your giant girlfriend are famous. But this time, Takeshi didn't laugh it off or make excuses. Her name is Svetlana. She's my brother's widow, and she's staying with me because that's what family does. If you have a problem with that, That's something you need to work out for yourself. His coworker blinked in surprise. Whoa, man! I was just joking. Well, it's not funny. Find something else to joke about. The office went quiet. People exchanged glances. But Takeshi didn't care. He had spent too long worrying about fitting in, about being proper, about what others expected. Kenji never lived that way. Kenji did what was right, even when it was hard. That evening, Takeshi came home to find Svetlana had made his favorite meal. Why the special dinner? He asked. Because you stand up for me today. You stand up for yourself. This take courage. We celebrate courage. As they ate together, Takeshi realized something important. The world's judgment would always be there. There would always be people who didn't understand, who made assumptions, who said hurtful things, but he had a choice about how much power to give them. He could let them make him ashamed, make him hide, make him apologize for doing what was right. Or he could stand firm, knowing that his actions were honorable, that he was keeping a promise to his brother, that he was helping someone who needed it. The choice was obvious. And once he made it, truly made it, everything else became easier to bear. It started with the ceiling fan. The stupid ceiling fan that had been broken for 3 months. Takeshi was too short to reach it properly, even with a ladder. Every time he tried, the ladder wobbled dangerously. He had been meaning to call a repair person, but they were expensive and he kept putting it off. One hot evening, Svetlana came home from her daily walk to find Takeshi standing on the ladder, tools in hand, swearing under his breath as he tried to reach the fan motor. "What you doing?" she asked. "Trying to fix this fan before I die of heat stroke. You are too short. Move, I do it." Before he could protest, Svetlana had taken the tools from his hands and simply reached up. She didn't even need the ladder. Standing on her toes, she could easily access the fan housing. Within 10 minutes, she had diagnosed the problem, found the loose wire, and fixed it. The fan whirred to life. "How did you know how to do that?" Takeshi asked, amazed. "Kenji teach me many things. Electrical work, plumbing, basic repairs. He says skills are important. I learned from him." She wiped her hands on a towel. "Also, when you are tall, people always ask you to fix high things. You learn fast." The next day, Takeshi mentioned to his boss that the project they were working on had hit a snag. There was a structural problem with the building design that none of the engineers could quite solve. It was giving everyone headaches, and the deadline was approaching fast. That evening, Takeshi brought the blueprints home, spreading them out on the living room floor. He was staring at them, trying to see something everyone else had missed when Svetlana came over with 2 cups of tea. "What is this?" she asked, looking at the blueprints. "Building design for work. We have a problem with the support structure. The weight distribution isn't working right." Svetlana set down the tea and knelt beside the blueprints. She studied them for a long moment, her finger tracing the lines. "This is problem here," she said, pointing to a junction point. "Load-bearing calculation is wrong. You need to redistribute weight to this support beam instead. Move this column 3 meters to left." Takeshi looked at where she was pointing. "How do you know that?" "I tell you before Kenji teach me. He was engineer. Good engineer. We work together on some projects when I help him with calculations. I learn from watching, from listening. Engineering is like volleyball in some ways. Everything about angles, force, balance." Takeshi grabbed a calculator and started running numbers based on what she suggested. His eyes widened as the calculations worked out perfectly. This is it. This actually solves the problem. The next day, he presented Svetlana's solution to his team. His boss was skeptical at first. "Where did you come up with this?" "We've had 3 engineers looking at this for weeks. I consulted with someone who has engineering experience. When the solution worked perfectly, Takeshi's boss was impressed. Good work. Really good work. I knew we hired you for a reason." Takeshi felt guilty taking credit, but he knew if he mentioned Svetlana, it would just create more questions and problems. He would tell her she saved the project, though. She deserved to know her knowledge mattered. As weeks passed, their living arrangement became less awkward and more comfortable. Svetlana's cooking improved their meals dramatically. She made huge pots of soup that lasted for days. She baked bread that made the whole apartment smell wonderful. She taught Takeshi recipes from her country, and he taught her how to make proper Japanese rice. They developed a routine. Takeshi would come home from work, and Svetlana would have dinner ready or almost ready. They would eat together, talking about their days. Svetlana had found a small community center that let her volunteer coaching kids volleyball twice a week. It wasn't paid work, but it made her happy to be doing something useful. In the evenings, they would watch television together. Svetlana was obsessed with Japanese game shows, even though she didn't understand everything. Her laugh was so loud and genuine that Takeshi found himself enjoying the shows more than he ever had alone. "This show is crazy," she would shout, slapping the couch. "Why they make people eat those things is funny." They also started teaching each other their languages more seriously. Svetlana's Japanese improved rapidly, and Takeshi learned basic phrases in her language. They would practice during dinner, Svetlana correcting his pronunciation while he helped her with tricky Japanese grammar. One evening, Takeshi came home feeling terrible. He had caught a bad cold at work, the kind that makes your whole body ache and your head feel stuffed with cotton. He tried to act normal, but Svetlana noticed immediately. "You are sick," she said, touching his forehead. "Very hot. You have fever." "I'm fine. Just tired." "You're not fine. You are sick. Go to bed now." Takeshi was too tired to argue. He changed into pajamas and collapsed on his bed. Over the next few hours, his condition got worse. The fever climbed. He drifted in and out of sleep, vaguely aware of Svetlana checking on him, bringing him water, placing cool cloths on his forehead. At some point in the night, he woke up confused and disoriented. The fever was making him see things that weren't there. He thought he saw Kenji sitting at the end of his bed. "Brother," he mumbled. "Is that you?" "I am not Kenji," Svetlana's voice said gently. "I am Svetlana. You are sick. You have very high fever. I stay with you. You stay?" "Of course I stay. You think I let you be sick alone? Never." Through the night, she stayed in a chair beside his bed, monitoring his temperature, making sure he drank water, changing the cool cloths on his forehead. Once, when he was shivering despite the fever, she pulled an extra blanket over him and sat on the edge of the bed, her large hand gently patting his shoulder until he fell back asleep. When morning came, Takeshi's fever had broken. He woke up weak but clear-headed. Svetlana was still there, though she had fallen asleep in the chair, her head tilted at an uncomfortable angle, her hand still resting near his shoulder. He looked at her sleeping face. She had stayed up all night taking care of him. This woman who had been a stranger a few months ago, who he had initially resented, who he had seen as a burden, had stayed by his side through the worst of his illness. "Svetlana," he said softly. Her eyes opened immediately. "You are awake. How you feel?" "Better, much better." "You stayed all night?" "Of course. You were very sick. Fever was dangerous. Someone need to watch you." She stretched, her joints cracking. "Now fever is gone. You will be okay. But you stay home from work today. Rest more. You didn't have to do all that." Svetlana looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "Yes, I did. You are family now. When family is sick, you take care of them. This is what people do. Family." The word hit him harder than he expected. Somewhere along the way, without him really noticing, that's what they had become. Not strangers forced together by circumstance. Not just roommates sharing space. Family. That evening, when he felt well enough to sit in the living room, they watched their game shows together. During a particularly funny moment, Svetlana let out that huge laugh of hers, and without thinking, Takeshi laughed too. "You know," he said during a commercial break, "I was scared when you first showed up at my door. I thought my life was over. Thought you were going to ruin everything. And now I think maybe you saved it. My life was pretty empty before. I just didn't realize it." Svetlana smiled. "Your brother, he saved my life twice. Once from fire, once from darkness in my heart. Maybe I saved yours a little bit too. We are even now." "I don't think we're even. You stayed up all night taking care of me. You fixed my ceiling fan. You solved my work problem. You cook amazing food. You make this apartment feel like an actual home. What have I done?" "You keep your promise," Svetlana said simply. "You let me stay when you not have to. You stand up for me when people are cruel. You give me place to be safe when I have nowhere else to go. This is everything." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the game show contestants try to balance on spinning platforms. Takeshi thought about how much his life had changed in just a few months. His apartment was messier, louder, more crowded. His privacy was gone. His quiet routine was disrupted, but he was also happier. He came home to good food and conversation. He had someone who cared if he was sick. He had someone to laugh with. He had purpose beyond just existing day to day. Maybe that's what Kenji had understood all along. That both of them needed each other. That this wasn't charity or obligation. It was partnership. Two people who had both been alone, finding a way to be less alone together. "Hey, Svetlana," he said. "Yes? Thank you. For everything." She reached over and patted his head, making him feel like a small child, but in a nice way. "You are welcome, little brother. Now watch show. This part is always funny." And they sat there in their small, crowded apartment watching strangers do ridiculous things on television, and somehow it felt exactly right. The letter arrived on a Thursday morning, official-looking with government seals. Takeshi's stomach dropped as soon as he saw it. He knew what it was before he even opened it. Immigration Services wanted to interview Svetlana. Her tourist visa was expiring in 2 weeks, and they had questions about her stay in Japan. She needed to appear for a meeting to discuss her status. When Svetlana came home from her volunteer coaching, Takeshi showed her the letter. Her face went pale as she read it, even though she had been expecting this. "Is over," she said quietly. "My visa ending. I have to go back. Maybe not. Maybe there's something we can do. Let me look into it." Over the next few days, Takeshi made phone calls, searched online, even paid for a consultation with an immigration lawyer. The news was not good. Svetlana had 3 options, the lawyer explained. Find a job with a company willing to sponsor her work visa, enroll as a student in a Japanese university, or marry a Japanese citizen. But she can't work legally right now, Takeshi explained, and she doesn't have money for university. What else can we do? The lawyer looked at him seriously. If you claim you're in a genuine relationship and intend to marry, she could apply for a spouse visa. But immigration will investigate thoroughly. They look for fraud constantly. You'd need to prove the relationship is real. Shared finances, photographs together, testimony from people who know you as a couple. But we're not a couple. She's my brother's widow. I'm just helping her. Then I'm afraid she'll need to return to her home country. You could try to sponsor her later through a family connection pathway. But that process takes years and isn't guaranteed. Takeshi left the lawyer's office feeling hopeless. Years? Svetlana couldn't wait years. And going back to her country meant returning to a family situation she had escaped from. That evening, he found Svetlana in the living room, packing her suitcases. The same suitcases she had arrived with months ago. "What are you doing?" "I am preparing. 2 weeks until visa expire. I need to buy plane ticket, arrange things. I cannot wait until last minute." Her voice was steady, but he could see her hands shaking slightly. "Stop. Don't pack yet. We'll find another way." "There is no other way, Takeshi. We both know this. I always know this day coming. I just hope for more time." She folded a shirt carefully. "Is okay, I survived before. I survive again. What about your family? You said they were dangerous." Svetlana's hands stopped moving. "My father is old now. Maybe he is changed. If not, I stay away from him. I find some work, some small room. I manage." "You're lying." "I can tell. You're scared." She finally looked at him, and he saw the fear in her eyes that she was trying to hide. "Yes, I am scared. But what choice do I have? I cannot ask you to do more than you already do. You help me so much already." The next day, Takeshi went to visit his mother. He hadn't seen her since the phone call where she expressed her disapproval of Svetlana. The meeting was tense from the start. "So you finally come to visit," his mother said as she poured tea. "I suppose now that your foreign guest is leaving, you have time for your family again." "Actually, that's what I came to talk about. She might not be leaving." His mother's cup paused halfway to her lips. "What do you mean?" "I'm thinking about sponsoring her visa. Maybe through a relationship claim." The cup clattered onto the table. "Absolutely not. Takeshi, I forbid it. This is ridiculous. You barely know this woman. She's not suitable. She's foreign. She's too old for you. She's the woman Kenji loved," Takeshi interrupted. "She saved his life. She made him happy. And now she needs help. What would Kenji want me to do? Kenji is gone. You can't live your life based on what a dead man would want. Maybe not. But I can honor his memory by keeping my promise." His mother stood up, angry now. "I've already arranged for you to meet some suitable women. Nice Japanese girls from good families. Heiko from the market, she's very interested in you. And there's Michiko, the teacher's daughter. Both would make excellent wives. I don't want to meet them." "Why?" Because you'd rather throw your life away on this foreigner? Think about your future. Think about what people say. I can't even go to my book club anymore without people asking about that tall woman living with my son. Then maybe you need better friends, Takeshi said, standing up to leave. If you do this, if you marry her, I won't approve. I won't come to any wedding. I won't acknowledge her as family. Takeshi looked at his mother, this woman who had raised him but who couldn't seem to understand what actually mattered. That's your choice, but I'm going to do what's right. He left feeling worse than before. His family was against it. The practical obstacles were enormous. And yet the thought of Svetlana leaving, of never seeing her again, of her going back to a place where she wasn't safe, was unbearable that night. He came home to find Svetlana had cooked dinner, but she wasn't eating. She was sitting at the table staring at her phone. What's wrong? I finally get through to my sister. Tell her I coming back. She say my father asking about me. Here I am in Japan. He want me to send money when I return. He say I owe family for raising me. She looked up at Takeshi. He will make my life miserable. He always does. Then don't go back. We discussed this already. I have no choice. Yes, you do. Takeshi sat down across from her. I talked to a lawyer. If we claim we're in a relationship, if we're planning to marry, you can stay. You can apply for a spouse visa. Svetlana's eyes widened. You cannot do this. This is too much. Marry someone you not love. Ruin your life for me. No, absolutely no. Who says it would ruin my life? Marriage is serious thing. Is forever thing. You cannot just marry for visa. Is wrong. Is it wrong to help someone who needs help? Is it wrong to keep a promise to my brother? Takeshi reached across the table. Listen to me. I've thought about this a lot. You've become important to me. Not as a burden or obligation. As a friend, as family. If getting married is what it takes to keep you safe, then I'll do it. But you not love me. Not in that way. Maybe not in a romantic way. But I care about you. I don't want you to leave. This apartment would feel empty without you. My life would feel empty without you. Svetlana was quiet for a long time. Immigration will investigate. They will know we not real couple. We sleep in different rooms. We not go on dates. They will see through this. Then we make it look real. We move into one bedroom. We'll take photos together. We'll learn to act like a couple. We'll do whatever it takes. Why? Why you do this for me? Takeshi thought about the question. Why was he willing to do this? It was more than just a promise to Kenji, though that was part of it. It was because over these months, Svetlana had become essential to his life. She had filled a void he didn't even know was there. She had made him braver, made him think about what really mattered. She had cared for him when he was sick. She had stood beside him when people were cruel. She had made his apartment feel like home. Because you matter, he said simply. Because this is what family does. And somewhere along the way you became family. Tears filled Svetlana's eyes. You are too good. Like your brother. Too good for this world. So is that a yes? She wiped her eyes. I think you are crazy. I think this plan will not work, but yes. If you're sure you want to do this, then yes. They spent the next week preparing. Takeshi moved his things into the living room, giving Svetlana the bedroom so they could claim they shared it if immigration came to inspect. They practiced their story over and over, how they fell in love, when they decided to marry, details that would make the relationship seem real. It felt strange at first telling these lies, but as they practiced, Takeshi realized some of it wasn't really lying. They did care about each other. They did depend on each other. They did know each other's habits, likes, dislikes. In many ways, they were closer than some real couples he knew. The day before the immigration interview, Takeshi came home to find Svetlana sitting with her packed suitcases again. What are you doing? I cannot let you do this, she said. I think about it all week. This is wrong. You should marry someone you love. Have real family, children maybe. Not fake marriage with tall foreign women who bring you nothing but trouble. You've brought me more than trouble. What have I brought you? Gossip, judgment? Problems with your family? Problems at work? You've brought me purpose. You've brought me companionship. You've brought me courage I didn't know I had. Takeshi sat beside her. Before you came, I was just existing, going through the motions. Now I feel like I'm actually living. Maybe this started as obligation, but it's not that anymore. It's choice, my choice. I want you to stay. But marriage is a piece of paper. We'll figure out the rest as we go. Maybe it stays practical forever. Maybe it becomes something more. Maybe it falls somewhere in between. But whatever it is, it's better than you going back to a place where you're not safe. Svetlana looked at him for a long moment. Then she stood up and started unpacking her suitcases again. Okay, we do this together. But Takeshi, if you ever regret this, if you ever want out, you tell me. I not trap you. You understand? I understand. Same goes for you. They shook hands like they were sealing a business deal, and despite everything, they both laughed. It was absurd. It was unconventional. It was possibly doomed to fail, but it was their choice. And that made all the difference. The immigration interview was scheduled for Monday morning. The weekend before, Takeshi and Svetlana sat down at the small dining table for what he called a serious business meeting. He had a notebook, a pen, and a determined expression. Okay, he said. We need to treat this like a project, a business arrangement. We need to be clear about expectations and boundaries. Svetlana nodded, though something in her eyes looked disappointed. Yes, business arrangement. This makes sense. First, the practical stuff. We'll open a joint bank account. Immigration likes to see shared finances. We'll put both our names on the utility bills. We'll take photos together, make it look like we do couple things. Couple things, Svetlana repeated. Like what? I don't know. Museums, parks, whatever couples do. Takeshi wrote this down. Second, we need to agree on the living situation. You take the bedroom, I'll take the couch for now. But if immigration does a surprise inspection, we need to make it look like we share the bedroom. So we keep my things in bedroom, but you actually sleep on couch? Exactly. Third, we need to set boundaries. This is a practical arrangement. We're helping each other. I help you stay in Japan legally, you help me. Run the business venture I'm planning. What business venture? Takeshi had been thinking about this. His job at the construction company was fine, but he had always wanted to try something of his own. I've been saving money for years. I want to start a small property maintenance company. Nothing big, just me and maybe 1 or 2 employees. I'm good at repairs, and with your engineering knowledge, we could handle more complex jobs. You could be my business partner. Svetlana's face lit up. Really, you want to work together? Why not? You fixed my ceiling fan in 10 minutes. You solved that structural problem at my work. You're smart and capable. We'd make a good team. Okay, yes. I like this idea. She seemed genuinely excited now. So it's settled. We present ourselves as a couple planning to marry. We get your visa situation sorted, and then we build a business together. It's practical. It makes sense for both of us. Takeshi looked at his notes, satisfied. No emotions involved. Just a mutually beneficial arrangement. No emotions, Svetlana echoed, but her voice had gone flat again. The immigration interview was intense. The officer, a stern woman in her 50s, asked question after question. How did they meet? When did they fall in love? What did they do on their first date? What side of the bed did each person sleep on? They stumbled through some answers, but they had practiced enough that it was mostly believable. Takeshi talked about how Svetlana had come into his life during a difficult time. Svetlana talked about how Takeshi had been kind when she had nowhere else to turn. They described evening routines, inside jokes, small details that made the relationship seem real. The officer remained skeptical. I see here that you only met a few months ago. Your visa expires next week, and now suddenly you're planning to marry. This seems convenient. Sometimes you just know, Takeshi said, reaching over to take Svetlana's hand. It was part of the act, but her hand felt warm and solid in his. When it's right, you know. The officer made notes. We'll need to conduct a home inspection. We'll also be contacting friends and family to verify your relationship. If we find any indication this is a fraudulent marriage, both of you will face serious legal consequences. They were granted a temporary extension while immigration investigated. Over the next few weeks, they had to maintain the illusion constantly. Friends and co-workers were questioned. Their apartment was inspected, with officers checking for signs of a real shared life. Photos on the walls, shared belongings, evidence of intimacy. Takeshi and Svetlana staged everything carefully. They took photos together at restaurants, at parks, at local festivals. They memorized details about each other. Svetlana's favorite food, Takeshi's childhood pet. The kind of things couples would know, but maintaining the act was exhausting. Every interaction felt calculated. Every touch was for show. They were performing for an invisible audience, never sure when immigration might be watching. The stress brought them closer in some ways. They spent hours talking, learning about each other beyond the basic facts. Takeshi told her about his childhood, about feeling overshadowed by his older brother, about his fear of taking risks. Svetlana told him about her volleyball days, about the pressure of being different, about the loneliness of losing her identity when her career ended. Late one night, as they were reviewing their story for the 100th time, Svetlana suddenly said, "Do you think we are lying?" "Of course we're lying. That's the whole point, but are we? We do care about each other, yes? We do depend on each other. We do share our lives. Maybe we not in romantic love, but we are something. Maybe we lying less than we think." Takeshi didn't know how to respond to that. She was right in a way. The line between performance and reality was getting blurry. Things came to a head when Yuki, his ex-girlfriend, showed up at his workplace. She cornered him in the parking lot after his shift. "I heard you're planning to marry that woman," she said, her arms crossed. "The foreign one, Svetlana. Her name is Svetlana, whatever. I just wanted to warn you that immigration contacted me. They asked about your relationship, about whether it seems real." Takeshi's blood ran cold. "What did you tell them?" "I told them the truth. That when we were together you never mentioned her. That this all seems very sudden and convenient. That I've heard she has visa problems." Yuki smiled coldly. "I'm not trying to ruin your life, Takeshi. I'm just being honest. You're trying to sabotage us. I'm trying to save you from making a huge mistake. You're going to marry someone you don't love just because you feel obligated. That's not noble. That's stupid." After Yuki left, Takeshi sat in his car gripping the steering wheel. This was falling apart. If immigration thought the marriage was fake, they would both be in serious trouble. Svetlana would be deported. He might face criminal charges. When he got home, Svetlana took one look at his face and knew something was wrong. He told her about Yuki's visit. "Is over," Svetlana said. "Your ex-girlfriend, she ruined everything. Immigration will believe her. She has no reason to lie. But we do. So what do we do?" Svetlana stood up, her full height making her nearly touch the ceiling. "I tell them truth. I tell them I ask you to lie for me. I take all blame. You will be okay. No, absolutely not, is only way. You not suffer for my problems. I'm already suffering. Do you know what the worst part of all this has been? It's not the interviews or the inspections or the staging photos. It's pretending this is just business. It's calling it an arrangement when it's become more than that." The words came out before Takeshi could stop them. Svetlana froze. "What you mean?" "I mean somewhere along the way this stopped being about obligation or practicality. I don't want you to stay just so you can help with the business. I don't want you to stay just because I promised Kenji. I want you to stay because I can't imagine my life without you anymore." The apartment went silent. Svetlana stared at him, her eyes wide. "When did you realize this?" she asked quietly. "I don't know. Maybe when you stayed up all night taking care of me when I was sick. Maybe when you made me laugh for the first time in years. Maybe it's been building this whole time and I was too scared to admit it." Takeshi ran his hand through his hair. "I know this wasn't the plan. I know we said this was just practical. But I can't keep pretending." Svetlana sat down slowly on the couch. "You are very stupid, man. I know. No, you not understand. You are stupid because I feel same way for weeks now. But I think you just want practical arrangement. I think if I tell you how I feel, I scare you away. So I pretend too. I pretend I just grateful, just need your help. But every day it get harder to pretend." Takeshi felt like the air had been knocked out of his lungs. "You feel the same way?" "Of course I do. You think I cook your favorite meals just for business? You think I stay awake worrying when you work late just because of partnership? You think I watch those stupid game shows because I like them? I watch because you like them, because I like seeing you happy." Her voice was rising, a mix of frustration and relief at finally saying the truth. "Then why didn't you say something? Why you not say something?" She shot back. "We both too scared. Both too worried about ruining what we have." They looked at each other across the small apartment. All these weeks of carefully maintained distance, of calling it business, of pretending feelings weren't growing. All of it suddenly felt ridiculous. "So what now?" Takeshi asked. "Now we stop lying. To immigration, we still need to be careful. But to each other, no more lying." Svetlana stood up and walked over to where he was standing. "You want to know truth? That first night when I knock on your door, I am so scared. I have nowhere to go, no plan, no idea if you even let me inside. But you do. You keep promise to brother you not even like that much. This tell me everything about who you are. I didn't do it because I'm noble. I did it because I didn't know what else to do. You do it because you are a good person, and every day after you prove this more. You defend me to neighbors. You stand up for me at work. You're not ashamed of me even when everyone judge you. You make me feel like I matter, like I am not just burden or problem to solve. Takeshi felt his throat tighten with emotion. You've never been a burden. You've made my life better in every way. 6 months passed quickly. Svetlana's visa was now secure, officially approved. She had permanent residency status. She could work legally, travel freely, live independently. The volunteer coaching position had turned into a paid part-time job at a sports academy. She was even taking business classes at a community center, preparing to be a real partner in Takeshi's property maintenance company. Everything had worked out. She was safe. She was legal. She was free, which meant she didn't need him anymore. Takeshi had been thinking about this fact for weeks now, though he tried not to show it. They had gotten close, yes. They had even said they cared about each other. But that conversation had happened during a crisis, when emotions were high and options were limited. Now, with Svetlana having her own income and legal status, she could do whatever she wanted. She could get her own apartment. She could date other people. She didn't have to stay in this cramped space with him. One Sunday morning, Takeshi decided it was time to bring it up. They were having breakfast together, something that had become a cherished routine. Svetlana was telling him about a promising apartment she had seen advertised online, a 2-bedroom place near the sports academy. It has high ceilings, she said excitedly. Real high ceilings. And big doorways. I could actually fit through them without ducking. The bathroom has a deep tub, one I might actually fit in. It's more expensive than this place, but with my new salary I could afford it. Takeshi's stomach felt heavy, but he forced a smile. That sounds perfect for you. You should go look at it. You think so? Of course. You've been crammed in here for too long. You deserve space where everything actually fits you. Svetlana looked at him strangely. You want me to move out? I didn't say that. I just mean, now that your visa is settled and you have a job, you have options. You're not stuck here anymore. Stuck, Svetlana repeated, setting down her chopsticks. You think I feel stuck here? Well, not stuck exactly, but come on, this place is too small. You hit your head on things constantly. You can't even fit in the bathtub, and now you can afford something better. So you want me to leave? I didn't say that either. I'm just saying you're free now. You can do whatever you want. You don't owe me anything. Svetlana stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I know I not owe you anything. You think I stay here 6 months because of debt? Because of obligation? Her voice was rising. You are stupid, man, Takeshi. Very stupid, man. She grabbed her jacket and walked out, slamming the door behind her. The apartment shook. Takeshi sat there, confused and upset. What had he said wrong? He was trying to be considerate, trying to give her freedom. Why was she angry? He spent the day cleaning nervously, checking his phone every few minutes. Svetlana didn't come home for lunch. She didn't come home for dinner. By evening, Takeshi was genuinely worried. He called her several times, but she didn't answer. Finally, around 9 at night, he heard her key in the lock. She came in carrying grocery bags and her sports duffel. Her face was calm, but her eyes were red. Where were you? Takeshi asked. I was worried. I go for long walk. Then to coaching job. Then walk more. Needed to think. She set down the groceries and started unpacking them. Fresh vegetables, meat. Ingredients for one of her elaborate meals. I am cooking tonight. Special meal. Svetlana, about this morning. Not now. First I cook. Then we talk. Important talk. She moved around the small kitchen with practiced ease despite her size. Over the months, she had learned exactly how to navigate the cramped space. She knew which cabinet doors to watch out for, which corner of the counter was the right height for chopping, where to stand so she didn't block the whole kitchen. Takeshi sat at the table watching her work. The smells of cooking filled the apartment. Rich, hearty, comforting. The kind of food that Svetlana always made when something important was happening. An hour later, she set down 2 plates of food. It was a dish from her country, one she had made on special occasions. They ate in silence, both of them thinking about what needed to be said. Finally, Svetlana pushed her plate aside and looked directly at him. I am not moving out, she said firmly. But the apartment you found, I not taking it. I tell them this afternoon. Not interested. Why? It sounded perfect for you. Because I not want to live there. I want to live here. With you? She paused. Unless you not want me here? Of course I want you here. I just thought you'd want your own space. Your freedom. You keep saying freedom, but you not understand what this word means to me. Svetlana leaned forward. When I leave my country, when I come here with only 2 suitcases, I am free from bad family. Free from past. But I am alone. Very alone. Then I find you. And yes, at first is obligation. Kenji's promise, your duty. But then it becomes something else. What did it become? Home, real home. Not just place to sleep. Home is where someone knows how you take your coffee. Where someone worries if you come back late. Where someone laugh at your jokes even when they not funny. Where someone see you at worst and still want you there. She looked around the tiny apartment. This small place with low ceilings and tiny bathtub is more home than anywhere I ever live. Because you are here. Takeshi felt his throat tightening with emotion. I feel the same way. I just didn't want you to feel trapped. I didn't want you to stay because you thought you had to. Remember what I tell immigration officer. Remember what I say when they ask why I marry you? I say from now on I am his wife. I mean it then, even when we both pretending. But now I mean it different way. She stood up and walked to where he was sitting. I not stay because I have to. I stay because I choose to. Every day I choose this. I choose you. I choose us. Even though I'm difficult. Even though I worry too much about what people think. Especially because of these things. Because you are a real person. With real problems and you let me see them. You not perfect. I not perfect. But together we are pretty good. Takeshi stood up, and even though he had to look up at her, he had never felt less small. I choose you too. I choose us. Not because Kenji asked me to. Not because it's the right thing to do. Because I love you, there it was. The word he had been afraid to say. Love. Simple, complicated, terrifying love. Svetlana's eyes widened. You love me? Yes, I don't know when it happened. Maybe gradually or maybe all at once. But yes, I love you. Your strength. Your laugh. The way you make everything feel possible. The way you never give up. The way you care about me even when I don't deserve it. You always deserve it, she said softly. Then her face broke into the biggest smile he had ever seen. I love you too. I think I love you since the night you stand up to those teenagers in park. Since you defend me even though you scared. Since you choose to be brave for me. They stood there in the small kitchen. In the apartment that was too cramped for someone Svetlana's size. Too small for 2 people really. But somehow just right for them. So what now? Takeshi asked. We already did the marriage registration for the visa. But that was just paperwork. Should we do it again? Have an actual ceremony? We could. Small ceremony. Just people who matter. Svetlana thought for a moment. But first I want to do something else. What? I want you to propose to me. Real proposal. Not business arrangement. Not practical solution. Real proposal, Takeshi laughed. Right now? I don't have a ring or anything planned. I not care about ring. I care about words. I want to hear you ask me with real feelings if I will be your wife. Not for visa. For love. Takeshi took both of her large hands in his smaller ones. He had never been good at romantic gestures. Had never been the type for grand declarations. But Svetlana deserved this. She deserved to know clearly and without doubt that she was chosen. Not accepted, not tolerated, not helped. Chosen. Svetlana, he began, his voice steady. When you knocked on my door 6 months ago, I thought my life was ending. I thought you were a problem I had to solve, a promise I had to keep. I was wrong. You weren't the end of my life. You were the beginning. You taught me what it means to be brave. You showed me that family isn't just blood, it's choice. You made me laugh, made me think, made me want to be better. He took a breath, surprised to find his eyes getting wet. You are the strongest person I know, and somehow you make me feel strong too. You are beautiful inside and out. And I feel lucky every day that you chose to stay. So I'm asking you now, not because I have to, but because I want to. Because I can't imagine my life without you. Svetlana, will you marry me? Really marry me? Not on paper, but in our hearts? Will you be my wife, my partner, my family, for as long as you'll have me? Svetlana was crying now, tears running down her face. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I will be your wife. I already am your wife from that first night. But now we do it right. Now we do it real. She pulled him into a hug, lifting him slightly off the ground without even thinking about it. He didn't mind. He had stopped minding a long time ago. They decided to have a small ceremony after all, just a month later. Takeshi's mother came, though she sat in the back row with a stiff expression. But by the end of the ceremony, when she saw how happy her son was, how genuine the love between him and Svetlana was, something in her face softened. Afterward, at the small reception, his mother approached Svetlana. "My son loves you very much," she said quietly. "This is clear to anyone who has eyes."